Testing, check, 1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to the Ninja Robot Studio LLC stream, where I play video games and VR experiences and talk through them from a UX designer's perspective. Game development has a direct and heavy influence on XR development, so it makes sense that we would study game design to learn how to create quality immersive experiences. And this stream is focusing on one aspect of UX, of the UX process. So we that with a human-centered design process, or like methodology, there are a lot of different moving parts with it. You've got user research, where you go out and you research your target audience. That is very, very important that you do that, because we cannot create quality immersive experiences for people to use if we don't study those people, and we just assume based on our own preferences or our own assumptions. And what we think they'll like. We need to go actually study them and make sure we're designing things that work for them. And so you research the target audience, and then you create designs that you think that are tailor-made to meet those people's needs. And you do that through designing potential solutions. You prototype and test those potential solutions with your target audience, and you iterate on that until you've got something that's good that you can build and take to your target audience. And that is not a one and done thing. It is a repetitive thing. You're constantly researching, constantly checking your target audience to make sure that the solution is meeting their needs, and iterating on that. So this part of the stream is focused more on the design side, and there is in the design side a type of research called competitive landscape, where you go in and once you know there's some kind of solution that you need to come up with, you'll study how other people have solved this problem, and you will look at the gaps. You'll look at what works and what doesn't work for those. If you have time, great, do some usability testing on those things, but most of the time there's not time to do that. But if you can and you get the funding, or if it's your own side thing, go ahead, do that usability testing to see what's working and what's not working for your target audience with those games. But at the very least, you can use your own knowledge of best practices to look at these solutions and see what's working from what's not working based on the research you've already done up front with your target audience. Then you would using the pillars of gaming UX or whatever it is that you're like best practices for training. All of these things come into relevance whenever you're creating a solution for XR. And so with your knowledge, that foundational knowledge, you would then analyze existing solutions that are out there, see what works, what doesn't work, and what is breaking these usability rules, these pillars of UX, what's not, and what are the gaps based on your research to see. And this stream focuses on that. And what I'm trying to do here is we're learning from game design, we're learning from how others have done things, and the goal is to have you participate in the chat so that you can gain experience working with a team, me, on analyzing experiences and doing critical thinking, critical analysis on that. Then after we play through a game from that UX designer's perspective, we'll do this rose thorn bud exercise. And ideally you would be taking notes in the chat while I'm playing the game and I'm making comments, and you can make your own comments, and you'll be taking notes as I go, because that's how a team would work together on analyzing anything. And then we take that and we do a rose thorn bud exercise on that at the end. And by you participating in this process, you're getting experience doing this in a collaborative environment, and that is something that's only going to help you in your career advancement, is to gain that experience, because that's one of the things that a lot of people that are trying to transition into the space, or a lot of people that are brand new to UX are trying to do, is get experience and prove that they have experience, but the companies won't hire them because they don't have experience. But this is one way of gaining some experience. I'm not guaranteeing that you can get a job from doing this with me, but you will gain experience, and that is only going to help. So before each game, like I said, we go through these pillars of gaming UX just as a reminder to refresh our memory of what we need to think about while we're playing the game. And I've been going by genre. I started with tabletop RPGs, and if you and then I went to platformers, and now we're working on training simulations. And we've already done in this series the Mars rover and the car mechanic, and this week we're doing wrench game. If you like this stream, if you like this content, and you want to see more of it, please follow on Twitch, subscribe and like the videos on YouTube, share them with your friends and your colleagues, and that's going to help me out a lot. It helps me to know what content is meaningful, and it helps me to keep doing this, because I need to focus on things that are actually going to be beneficial to not only myself but other people. And if you want to keep this content coming, then go ahead, follow, like, subscribe, share, all those things. And the next 2 weeks I'm not going to be streaming. I'm going to be actually, I work for Circuit Stream. I'm a design instructor at Circuit Stream, and I am also a curriculum advisor at Circuit Stream for their design side of things. And so the next 2 weeks I'm going to be doing talks for Circuit Stream on Thursdays, so I'm not going to be streaming on those days. So be sure to check out those events. You can check them out on the Circuit Stream website at circuitstream.com. I'll put it in the chat. And you can check out those workshops. I'm not sure they're up. They're probably still promoting the one that's happening this week. But today, I guess it's today. But I'll be doing one on my synthesis of the tabletop RPG genre that we did originally. I'm going to be doing a talk about that. And I did publish an article about that recently. And I'm going to be doing a talk on it next week for Circuit Stream. And if you watch it, be sure to watch it, because there is a little announcement that's going to be happening at the end of that. And so if you want to be a part of that, then you will want to watch that talk next week at Circuit Stream. And I will put the links in the chat, in the show notes as well. I'm making a note to myself to do that, so that you can check out those talks in the next couple of weeks, and then I'll ideally I will be back the following week after that, and the content of that talk is to be determined based on this talk that I'm doing next week. And and then the following week, I'm going to be recapping the game mechanic simulator that we did the last time here on the stream. I'm going to be redoing that one for Circuit Stream, and then I'll be back after that. So be sure to check those talks out. And again, be sure to follow, like, subscribe, share on YouTube so we can keep this content coming. And if you want to support the content that I'm creating here in the UX for XR Toolkit and all the content that I'm creating on YouTube, the educational videos and everything, and I am creating more content in different formats that's going to be coming out in the future. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to support that, if you want to help that grow, you can become a patron, and that will greatly help because all of this takes time and effort and resources, money. I have to buy the games, I have to buy equipment, I have to feed myself. So all of these things require funds, unfortunately. So if you would like to become a patron, you can become a patron and support that, and you will also get benefits from being a patron. And I will be adding more benefits in the future for patrons as well that are patron-only benefits. So now, let's quickly go through the Pillars of Gaming UX. And the Pillars of Gaming UX are from the book by Celia Hodent, Gamer's Brain. I highly recommend this book. She does have a new one out that I haven't had a chance to read yet. It is on my wish list to read. I think it's called Gaming Psychology or something like that. I'm sure it's just as good as this one. This one's a great book. But she is basing, if you come from a UX background, you will possibly recognize these as Nielsen heuristics, your normal Nielsen heuristics for UX in general: signs and feedback, clarity, form follows function, consistency. But there are 10 of those, but she has adopted these because this is gaming. It's a different type of genre, a different type of need than your standard applications. She switched some of them out that weren't really relevant to gaming and added some that are especially relevant to gaming, which are engageability, motivation, emotion, and game flow that are specific to games. And so we will quickly go through those real quick. So there are 7 pillars of usability that she has here, and those are, again, signs and feedback, clarity, form follows function, consistency, minimum workload, error prevention, recovery, and flexibility. So the signs and feedback are all of those signs, the visual, audio, haptic cues that inform you about what's going on in a game. And those are informative signs, things that wayfinding, the things that help you to know what to do, where to go, what to interact with. And feedback is telling you what is successful, what's not successful when you try to do something. And then clarity is all the typography, the contrast, the font usage, the words used, the communication used should all be clear and understandable and perceptible to avoid any kind of confusion. And they should be perceptible but not intrusive, and they should enable you to quickly prioritize information, what's relevant right now, what's not relevant right now in a game. And then form follows function is all of those designs, the design of the items, the design of the interface, all of that, character icons, all of that should accurately convey the function. And thinking about affordances, a chair affords sitting, a doorknob affords turning. These are things the form should tell you what the function is of the item and that should intuitively inform you how to use it, how to interact with it. And then consistency is that all of those signs, those feedbacks, those controls, the indicators, menu navigation, world rules should follow a consistency in design pattern and so forth. And that is not only for the visual design, but it's also for mental models, gaming mental models. Like we are when we were doing tabletop RPGs. There were certain designs on the cards that was an expected thing for tabletop RPGs. And for training, there are certain things that are expected for training and platformers, certain behaviors and way platformers work that is expected. That is a mental model that people have. That should be consistent. Whatever we're creating within that genre should be consistent with that genre. Of course, we are not trying to keep you from being creative in your use of that genre, but you do want to follow mental models to make that easier for people to understand. And also for regional things. Like regional expectations, regional mental models, if you're going international, because Americans think differently than Europeans and so forth. We have different mental models that we follow whenever we do things when we game. And minimum workload is around the cognitive load and the physical load. So your attention, your memory, what's taking up your attention? Are you spending all of your time trying to figure out how to interact with the thing? Or are you enjoying the game? Are you figuring out the game mechanics? Because you don't want the interface, the interactions to interfere with the game mechanics, with the game itself. The player's focus should be on the game and the features, not on the how to use it, how to do it. And less on the interfaces and controls. Like, don't make them have to focus on the interface and the controls. Let them focus on the game. Let them focus on the content that they're consuming in this game, or that's entertaining them or teaching them. And so physical is about how cumbersome the interaction is. Or even within the XR community, it's about ergonomics and how you placed it in the digital space to make it less physically cumbersome, unless of course that's part of the game mechanic. If it's part of the game mechanic, then okay, but think clearly, is this part of the game mechanic or is this just a really cumbersome interaction? Shouldn't be overly complicated. And then error prevention and recovery is where we anticipate the kinds of mistakes, the kinds of errors that people will make, and not including game mechanics, okay, but with the interface, with the interaction of it, and we try to prevent that from happening. For example, leaving the game without saving. We provide features like autosave to keep them from losing 2 hours of gameplay. Or when we exit a game, we say, are you sure you want to leave? Do you want to save? Do you want to continue playing? And give them that option so that they're not losing all of their gameplay when they leave. That is a normal thing that happens. And then flexibility is around the how customizable is this game. The more customizable it is, the better it's going to work for more people. So in terms of control mapping, font size, colors, accessibility, people with vision issues will be able to adjust the font sizes to be able to read what they wouldn't be able to otherwise. Colors, people with color blindness should be able to adjust the colors so that they can see and differentiate the colors more able to. And sometimes the colors don't have enough contrast, and that can make it unplayable completely. And people with motor function impairments should be able to add on a switch or a special controller for that motor function impairment so that they can also enjoy your game. So these are all things. Languages, different languages, people in different languages, that one's going to be a little more difficult because it's going to cost you some money to translate that into other languages. Audio should be adjustable for people with hearing impairment issues, being able to adjust the different sound settings so that they can better understand what's going on in the game without the music overpowering the words and so forth. And then the difficulty levels, there are people who love to play do or die, and then there are people who just want to enjoy the story and just want to have a chill gameplay. So give them flexibility to do that. And also considering that we have people with different cognitive abilities, different cognitive issues, then who still want to play the game. For example, someone with a cognitive impairment, being able to give them the a different level of difficulty will allow them to enjoy your game. Because even though you're assuming that it's an easy mode, it could be hard mode for them because they have a certain cognitive impairment that makes it difficult for them. So if you add that flexibility in, you're going to be able to make more people allow more people to enjoy your game or your training or whatever. Especially with training, you're going to care about that. And then on the gaming side of things, we have engageability pillars of engageability. And those are motivation, emotion, and game flow. And motivation is where we aim to satisfy the player's need for competence, autonomy. I want to feel competent when I'm playing a game. If I feel like that I am completely crappy at the game, I will stop playing it. I have no motivation to play it because I don't feel like I'm any good at it. And if I work on it a certain amount of time and I see no progress and no improvement, then I'm going to stop playing it. So there is a way of doing that, and all of these things go together. The way of doing that is your game flow, your difficulty curve, and your pacing. Is it hard from the start? Or do you start easy and then work your way up to more difficult things, and then it becomes more difficult over time, and they feel like what is the difficulty? What is the pacing and the learning curve for this game? So that's the game flow. And then emotion is the polish of the game feel. What are the emotions that are coming out of this? And the 3 C's are control, camera, and character. The character design, the cinematography or whatever, the camera treatment, the colors, the lighting, the control, all of that is emotion. Those things help create emotion, the tone, and they enable discovery, surprises in the story. How are we creating that emotion in the game? So this framework is for any of these things work for any XR experience, even if it's training. And now the application side of things is going to be a little bit different, but we're still talking about games and training and experiences like that are in here, because that's what we're talking about is gaming. So if we're doing application design in XR, there are still some, we're still going to be using these things. And then for XR, I haven't written all of this publicly yet. There are some, but it's all based on these best practices that I've written on my website. That I've spent years studying and writing and sharing with y'all in a way that's easy to understand so that you can learn it for yourself. And I'm creating more content coming out, training. I'm going to create my own training and make that available to people on demand to learn this in a more structured way in the future. But that takes time and money. So if you would like to support that future, then I would recommend becoming a patron to help support that. Because again, that takes time and money and effort, and I do need to feed myself and put a roof on my head. So now that we've gone through the pillars of gaming UX, the best practices for training in XR, I highly recommend that you check this out. We won't spend time going through it today, but I will include the link in the show notes, and there it is in Twitch. And also check out, I think I made a Linktree command. Yes, I did. All of the things are on my Linktree at Linktree/Ninja Robot Studio LLC. And so now let's talk about the game that we're playing today, which is Wrench. We're going to be doing the desktop version of this. There's a VR version, and I will try to do that one as well. But this is the desktop version because I'm wanting to see how they translate the desktop and VR back and forth, how they handle that. Because if you're going to, especially in training, oftentimes you will have a desktop version and a VR version. So you are going to want to think about how you design for each. And it is not a lift and shift. You do not lift and shift. You want to, I also write about cross-platform design and the things that you should think about with cross-platform design. Let me see where I put that. Designing across platforms. Right here. So there are things that you want to think about when you're designing across platforms from 2D mode to 3D mode. And I will also share that one in the show notes. And I highly recommend that. I will make a note to share these. Okay. And now, so again, we're going to do the desktop version today. And this is apparently still an early access game. I don't have it on Steam. I have it on Oculus. And it runs in both standard and VR modes. And I wish that there was a newer demo version than what I have on Oculus, because I'm having trouble updating Oculus, and Windows is conflicting with the Oculus store. It's a common problem, and I've tried everything I can to fix it, but I can't, and so I can't update the game. So there may very well be a new version that is better, but I can't update it, and I'm not going to spend money buying it on another platform. I don't want to. So we've got what we've got, because that's another $30 to spend that I don't want to, because I already have the game. But we'll just play the older version. And let me get that set up here. So this is the game, Wrench, and by Missing Digit, and this is supposedly going to help us learn how to work on cars and build engines. We did Car Mechanic Simulator last time, and this time we're doing this as a kind of a competitor to that. That Car Mechanic Simulator, I couldn't find a VR version, so it's not like a full direct competition, but we will compare. So we will see the contrast here. If you go back, you can watch that, or you can watch my Talk with Circuit stream in a couple of weeks that I'm going to be redoing the Car Mechanic, but you can watch my full playthrough and analysis of it on YouTube on demand. And so we're going to just go ahead and play a new game, and if we don't get through, because I need to keep this a little shorter today because I've got projects working on, if we don't get through it today, we'll just continue next time. So that's also dependent on how far we get today, what we do next time on the stream. Let me change my camera. Ugh. Okay. So now, right off the bat, I'm seeing that they seem to have just done a lift and shift for the most part. They have modified a little bit, and they've added some objects to the HUD, and I wish that I could use my mouse to point those things out, but we're just going to have to describe them because my mouse is what's being used to control the camera. So in the bottom right corner, you'll see a little HUD that it says how to pull up the context menu and do certain things like sprinting, crouching. And then in the bottom left, which you can't see, you kind of can, it's under my logo on the stream, but that is how you pull up the menu by pressing the tab key on the keyboard. I'm using a mouse and keyboard. I'm not using a controller. I can see it's not even detecting it, so because I just tried it. So yeah, it's keyboard and mouse. So right now it looks like environmentally for the UI they have just done a lift and shift, which means that we're going to have to, looking at the size of the panel, move our camera to see the full panel, depending on what it is. And it's kind of warped because, again, the placement of the camera is making the UI panel warped. Yeah, this is not a absolutely horrible thing, but my recommendation would be take full advantage of the platform that you're designing for. If it's on PC, desktop, use the best practices for desktop. If it's in VR, use the best practices for VR. Don't try to take shortcuts and do the same on both, because that's going to hurt the experience and it's going to hurt the polish of the game, because right now this isn't very polished. Again, it is early access, and they have made a lot of changes from the original time I played it. There used to be a free demo. I played the free demo and the UI was very different. And they have made changes. So they are making improvements, and that again, I am not able to update it again because Windows is keeping me from being able to update it for whatever reason. I've tried everything I can found online to try to fix it, and it won't. So even turning off, because it's actually the antivirus that's preventing it from updating, supposedly, but even when I turn that off, it's still not updating. So it's something on Oculus' side that they really need to figure out and fix, or now Meta. But I'm not sure how much support they're going to be doing for the Oculus Store anymore, since they're trying to do everything through Quest now anyway, and they're getting rid of the Rift. So, or they've discontinued it. They're not getting rid of it. They discontinued it. But so I don't know how much support is going to continue to go towards the Oculus platform, the Oculus Store. Anyway, start hands-on training. And apparently we make money doing this. So the path before you provides interactive basic training. Starting bonuses are awarded for completing training tasks. Non-interactive help information is accessible after training. You may exit at any time. So click the left mouse button to start training. So look at the movement destinations. And I'm getting little feedback saying when it's successful. That's a good thing. They seem to have designed this for VR and then plopped it onto desktop, is what it looks like. However, the reticle is what should be used as the guide to when they're looking at something in VR. But in VR, I would say do not show this reticle unless it is absolutely necessary. The reticle is what I'm talking about, that little dot that's in the middle of the screen. That's the reticle. Because that's what's used in gaze targeting and it's used in games. But in VR, you do not want that to be persistent. You only want it to show when it's relevant because it's right smack dab in the middle of their eyes, and that's annoying in VR. It's very noticeable and annoying in VR. Not so much on desktop, but definitely in VR it is. So now move to the destinations, and we move with our WASD keys. I can't actually see when I'm on it, so it's just getting you to practice moving around. This makes way more sense in VR than it does in here. To give them the practice moving around, that is something that you want to do in there. But in VR, it needs to be and we'll see, because we'll try the VR version if I can get it to work. Hopefully I can, but it needs to be a more interactive way of teaching them in VR, because just using your WASD keys is not how you move around in VR. So they need to teach you how to use the controller and what buttons to push and so forth to move around in VR. And then, okay, sprinting. So now I have to look down at these to figure out how to sprint. So I hold down. Yeah, I would do this very differently in VR. It would be a step-by-step thing. I wouldn't have the whole list shown with all of these little tooltips here. If this were in VR, I would show what's my current task. How do I do it? Show it to me. And then finish that task. And then, okay, what's my next task? Show that to me. How do I do that? Instead of making me have to look back at this and reference everything and go back and forth. How do I do this? Because this is the lazy way to train. And that sounds a little harsh, but you don't want to do it this way in VR. You want to actually step by step. Best training is going to be step by step, practice by doing training. And we are going to play some other experiences that actually show you how to do that very effectively. So sprinting is holding down the shift key, the left shift key, not just any shift key, and using your WASD keys to move faster. Okay. And then crouching is holding down the C key. And then not sure how you stand up. Spacebar. Okay, wait, so here. I'm crouching and now I can't see the thing. So I have to move my head up to look at it. Which, you know, you wouldn't have to teach them how to crouch in VR if you're using the floor origin. You won't have to teach them how to crouch. They just crouch physically. Unless they're in a seated position, then you're gonna have to figure that out. But you raise your standing height with spacebar to stand up and wait. So can I go taller? Okay, it does have a max height. But in VR, you want them to be their actual height because people, we know our height and we know our perspective. So when you change their height, we know our distance from the floor. And so when we change our height in VR, that messes with our height perception, and and so you have a hard time like knowing if you need to crouch down to pick something up. It's going to be harder to tell your distance from the floor because you can't, because your depth is off than your physical body, and that makes it harder. So in VR, you want to use floor origin as your for if you're needing to crouch and move around. Floor origin is going to be what you use to make sure that people can move naturally in that virtual space, and that the headset will detect what their height is from the floor so that they can actually accurately crouch and do whatever they need to do in VR as if it were real life. And then sprint by default can be enabled in settings. I don't care. So now I need to continue to the next station. And because I was standing here, that blue was very much obscured. There are arrows pointing down. I think there were arrows before, but I don't remember if they were moving before. So I would say show things in context, because look, you can see over here there are also arrows moving on the floor, so I'm assuming that they were already there. That's a lot of wayfinding going on at the same time. Just show the next thing. Don't show all of it. Just show the next thing that's relevant. Because this is like, I mean, it's not visually too much, but it is if you're trying to, and since we're already done with these move platforms, get rid of them. They don't have to stay there. So just try to keep it clean so that people aren't like overloaded with everything. So I need to continue to the next station. I hope that the panel will go to the next station. Okay. Now summon and store the tablet. Summon the tablet. Use tab. Okay. Okay. You can also press on the X to see. So this panel is a desktop panel. But this panel is not. This one's placed in space for the PC. So let's see. Maybe they have a reason for doing that. Maybe they do. I'm sure they do. I just don't know what it is. But in VR, you would not want to stick it to this HUD like this. And what I mean by HUD is this flat desktop view. Because that's going to be right smack in their face. It's going to be too close. They won't be able to read it. So don't do that. So this is a tablet. Okay. View, use, and dismiss notifications. Do I have any notifications? Use the mouse. Oh. Is this a notification? Okay. Okay. But The problem is that I can't see my task list while this is up. So that is another reason that you wouldn't want it to be in game like this for the desktop. It works in VR because it's a tablet that you're holding, but here on the desktop, I can't see my task list. So I have to keep closing the tablet to see my task list to go back and forth, and that is cumbersome. This is what we're talking about, workload. That is cumbersome. If you had the task list on the desktop over to the side so that we could see it like you do on your quest lists on your games, then we wouldn't have to keep closing the tablet to see what our next task is. Because all of these things are in the tablet. Everything that we're doing here for this one is training us how to use the tablet. But I have to keep closing it to see what my next task is to use on the tablet. View, use, and dismiss notifications. Okay. And again, this is an older version, but one of the things that we have a problem with here is that this is a lot of copy. And if this were in VR, this would be too much copy. And it also looks like the font is, even in this version, the font is blurry. It is blurry around the edges of the font. It's not a clean font. And that in VR, because it's already like causing my eyes to strain, I am moving closer to make sure that it's not my actual eyes, because I do need new glasses. But it is not. It is the game. This font is already blurry on the desktop. I guarantee it's going to be blurry in VR, and it's going to cause eye strain very quickly in VR. So there are certain fonts and treatments, and there's no hierarchy here. There's no visual hierarchy. You want to use visual hierarchy. You want to do a much better job. That you can see here so visual design carries over into games, carries over into VR, just like it does in real life. Bullet points, the treatment that they have here for the bullet points looks like it's just text-based. They didn't make the effort to do proper text formatting in here. It just looks like they used a text document or something and plopped it in here. I need to learn more about Unity's UI creation. But it looks like they didn't take the time to actually create a proper font treatment and visual hierarchy here. That's something you want to do to make it easier to read for people to scan information, especially if it's important information. So closing is going to close the tablet. I have to use the back button down here. And so also here on this roadmap, these fonts are way too small for VR, and they're blurry again. And this is too thin. This font is too thin for VR. Phase 1 Unlimited, Phase 2 Future. That's going to cause line vibration in VR. So you want to have a medium weight to bold font in VR because of the resolution of the screens. If you have lines that are too thin, they're going to cause line vibration. And there's going to be a lot of line vibration going on with this UI design in VR. And that's going to cause eye strain. Now, what's my next task? Load the settings in roadmap apps. So let's look at settings. They're using so some of these words only make sense to gamers. Ray tracing only makes sense to people who are heavy into graphics and developers. They're not going to make sense to anyone else. So think about your word usage in your menus, in your designs, and make it to where it actually makes sense to people other than the game developers other than the heavy gamers, because your audience is not just heavy gamers. It's not just game developers. Again, we're not our target audience. So we need to study our target audience and see what makes sense to them and design it accordingly. These things are not going to make sense to the average person that wants to play this game. So this is for VR, setting up your controllers and stuff. So you can change to Cosmos. Nice. They do support that. Since that's one of the problems I have with the Vive Cosmos, is that the game creators aren't supporting, they aren't creating the Cosmos controller support, controller mapping in the game. So it automatically detects it as a Vive controller, which is a completely different controller, and half the time it is rendered useless. And I can't play the game at all because the controller doesn't work with the Cosmos. And then I have to go find some community mapping that somebody did in the Steam community, which I can't do here because this is Oculus, and hope that that works. And half the time that's really buggy, so it's not as if it were made directly for the game. What does this do? That's nothing. Okay, I guess it's just for VR, so apparently there's a HUD. We'll have to see what that means, because I have a thing about HUDs. Don't use them. The movement direction, we'll see how they designed it, though. This is about your movement and stuff. And I'm hoping that you can do... Locomotion is a very important thing here. And I don't know what analog movement means. What does this mean? I don't know what this means. Movement direction reference. Why would this even be an option? I guess it would be an option if you're sitting. Then use their head. Let them look where they want to look. If they rotate, it's going to make them sick. It's going to increase sickness. So I would, in VR, use your head. Use their head. Use the direction they're looking to move, or the movement direction. That's going to reduce sickness. But of course, then give the option to change to hand controller, because some people are going to want to use that aren't prone to sickness. But I would say default to head, not hand. And then let them change it. And then let them know that they can change it. Smooth movement speed, I'm keeping that low. Because I am going to get sick. I can already tell. Long range grab distance. I don't understand what that means. So desktop. Let's see. Mouse sensitivity, I already turned it down pretty low. Because it was too sensitive, and that movement can, even on 2D, can make me sick. Now here's where you change sprint mode. Manual wrench controls. I'm not sure what these things mean because there's no context to what they mean. Okay, here. It actually does. There's a tooltip down at the bottom. When enabled, smooth movement speed is proportional to thumbstick displacement, only valid for devices with thumbsticks. Smooth rotation. When enabled, rotation is smoothly adjusted with no fading. When disabled, rotation is snapped in fixed increments with a brief fade. I'm going to do smooth rotation. Wait, no. Disable, because I want the fade, because I'm going to get sick if I don't have the fade. Okay, in VR. And when enabled, smooth rotation speed is proportional to thumbstick displacement. Okay. It switches to manual pump control using the mouse. The camera will be locked during manual pumping. Switches to manual wrench control. The camera will be locked during manual wrenching. We'll see if we get that far today. And again, for information architecture, try not to use terms like miscellaneous or other. That's not helpful. Do proper card sorting exercises, do proper content strategy, and do a better job of coming up with your menu options. Miscellaneous and other is a real pet peeve of anyone who does anything with content strategy. And it also, it's like, it's just where people, it's your junk drawer for content, basically. Autosave. Of course I want autosave. Why would that be disabled? Time between autosaves. Why would I have no autosave? Music in the game will include user media. Press update user media for details on setting this up. So we might have some music in game. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, what is target highlighting? The current grab target will be highlighted with a pulsing color. Disabling is useful for screenshots. Okay. And then return to the home screen. Okay. Did that work? No. How do you return to the home screen? What are you talking about? Oh, that button, the grid is the home button. I thought I pressed it. I have to be in one of these to press it. No. Oh, I did do it. Oh, but I need to do... Oh, I did do it. Okay. There's the checks over here. But I didn't do view... I didn't do enough notifications. Okay. But as soon as I look at it, it's, okay. That. I don't know. Next station. Okay, now we are going to... So when you hover over something, it tells you what it is. Okay, so grab a part. To grab a part, do I use my left mouse button? Grab objects with left mouse button, okay? Throw it. How do I throw it? Hold down the left shift and drop. Okay. Rotate. Okay. How do I rotate? Rotate, rotate. How do I rotate? Hold the middle mouse button and rotate it. Okay. And now center a part in your view that is hard, very hard to read. Oh, but it's so on the panel it's really hard to read what that says. Even on desktop version, I have no idea what it's like in VR, but if I look down at my bottom right, I can see the tooltips here to say what. So center is F. Okay. And then move parts to the box is holding shift. That didn't work. Can I grab it again? I have to come over here and grab it. And then put it in the box. Okay, and I have to do that with all of them. That is annoying. Depth perception's kind of difficult here in this one. And I already know that if I were doing this in VR and I don't have any other option for locomotion besides this movement, this artificial movement, not teleportation, I know that I'm gonna get sick before I even finish this task right here. I know I'm gonna get sick. So I won't even be able to make it through the tutorial, essentially. Can I go over here? Bean shop. Okay, so now use the context action. So what I would prefer that they do is more like what they did with Car Mechanics Simulator last week. Instead of having everything in this one tutorial area, because we haven't even played the game yet. Instead of having everything in this one tutorial area, teach them as they go. It's much more effective to teach them as they go than to... Because I'm going to forget half of this by the time I get into the game. $20. And I need to open. I'm right clicking and then the contextual menu is coming up. Okay. I'm disposing of the parts. Oh, that's annoying. Now, how am I supposed to get the box back upright? Ugh. I don't know how to... wait, how do you rotate? F? Rotate middle mouse. Wait. How do I... So it's open. This is just really frustrating. All this is frustrating. Because I'm having to pick up my mouse, move it, pick it up, move it. Pick it up, move it. Finally. This is a very cumbersome activity right here. Do I need to do this with however many boxes this is? Because I've learned it the first time. I don't see why I have to do this many. Grab it. It's really cumbersome. Seriously, do we really need to do it this many times to learn how to do it? And the panel's in the way. The only reason that I'm missing it is because there's so much stuff in there, I can't tell what's in there and what's not. The depth is also difficult here. Destroy all parts. How do I destroy? Use the context menu on the trash bin to destroy. Scrap all. So say, it said destroy, but the menu said scrap. So just say scrap. Use the same word. And there's actually this design that you use when you're doing quest guidance. The keywords highlighted so that people know what to look for and what to focus on looking for. It's just an extra level of clarity. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm looking for scrap, not destroy. So make it say scrap. And yes, I figured it out, but English is my first language. It's not everyone's. Okay, but if that were in VR, I would have... I actually have tried this before, and I actually ended up quitting at that last section, because I was getting sick from having to move back and forth, throwing all that stuff away, because it wasn't using teleport. It was using that continuous motion that you're seeing on the desktop. But I will try to get through the whole thing. Pocket the parts. Do I have to do each individual part? How do you... Okay, how do you pocket it? Z. So you have to pick it up and then hold Z. Press Z. This is painful. Why so many? I've already learned how to do it. Why are you making me pick so many up? This could have been taught while we were playing the game. Press Z to unpocket a part. And where did it go? Because apparently I wasn't over the table, because the depth perception's really difficult in this for some reason. So I did that. But how do I... Ugh. Okay. It's just falling on the ground. How am I supposed to transfer it to the other table if I can't get it to go on the table? It's just falling on the ground. This is... This is annoying. Okay. He planned to overhaul the pocket later. Well, the depth perception's the problem. How do I put it further out? Okay. A little better. I use the scroll wheel to move it out further. I don't remember that. I don't remember it teaching me that. In VR, that would hopefully be easier. You use the scroll wheel to move it further away. The shadow, I saw the shadow over the table, so I dropped it. But apparently that wasn't right. And This is just cumbersome for no reason. Are you gonna pick up one bolt at a time in real life? Or are you gonna pick up a few at a time? It's not like they're huge. Okay, and since they have this placed spatially, again for VR, there are ways to fix this too. So why is it saying I didn't empty my pockets? I emptied my pockets. Use the contact. Oh, okay. So I have to put some things back in my pocket so that I can do that step. So now I have to use the context menu action, empty pockets. How? How? You're not telling me how? Oh, so I just click it anywhere on the screen. I just tried it because I didn't know what to do. So I just clicked anywhere on the screen, right-clicked, because it's not telling me how to do it on here. I right-clicked, and then now it came up, and now it says empty pocket. I wouldn't have thought of that. So now I can continue. Okay. This tutorial is very long. Okay. Install fasteners. Holding a fastener, target appropriate location. So what's the fastener? What? Seat fasteners, optimally torque all fastener, and use auto and manual wrenching. How am I supposed to use manual wrenching on the computer? You use your mouse wheel. Okay. Pick up a fastener. Problem is that now I have to keep looking back and forth. Back and forth, back and forth. If I were in VR, my head would get very... This is not in the field of view in VR. In my field of view. And you would check head comfort zone. There's a video on head comfort zones. Add that to the things that I'm doing here for show notes. And yeah, you want to make sure things are within the head comfort zone because that is unnecessary head and neck strain. And it's cumbersome to have to like do this. There are better ways to design this. Like especially if you had your task list in order, just focus on the task that they're doing right now, which is installing fasteners, okay? That's the only thing they need to know about. How do they do that? Focus on that. You don't have to have everything thrown at them at this station at once. Go step by step through it. And even better would be to let them do this while they're doing the game. Instead of having them in this learning area. Just let them play the game and do it while they're playing the game. Because I like how the other game did that. The Car Mechanic Simulator. How that did it last week. Because you were actually playing something. And you were actually doing something. Instead of just... Come on. And the fact that this isn't with the reticle is making this more difficult than it needs to be here. Okay. Am I visibly getting frustrated? Okay. Now, next step is to seat all of the fasteners. To seat the fasteners, grab the wrench or use the arrows to adjust the fasten direction and torque setting. Use stop wrenching on an installed fastener. So I guess I need the wrench. And since they're not teaching me proper torque, oh, it says it on the thing. Okay. But it's not letting me do that. What is the... I don't know anything about a torque wrench, okay? So teach me about the torque wrench. Cycle extension, holster throw, set, tighten, loosen. Mouse wheel up, down, adjust torque limit, left, right. Oh. Okay. So I can do 40 by using the arrows. Okay. This direction wasn't clear on how to do that. You want to make the directions very clear. If they've never used a torque wrench before, then teach them about the torque wrench. So seat fasteners, which means to fasten past the rundown. How do I make this thing here? Okay, so I just clicked on it. Okay. And I guess I just hover over this and click on it and it'll do it for me. So seated means that it's at that little stopper point, whatever. Oh, I'm using the wrong torque too. But I'm just seating them right now. So I hope that is okay. Okay, now use the optimally torque all fasteners. So this one is at... Did I do it? How do I know it's optimally torqued? So that one's set on 40. And I need this one at 36. How am I going to do 36.8 when there's no 0.8? It's going to the wrong one. So what is the... I don't know. So this one... How am I supposed to do... Oh, so the target torque is 30. I'm looking down here at each individual one. Okay, so I need it at 30. But I'm clicking on this one and it's doing the other one. So this one needs to be at 55. That one needs to be at 70. So wait, so I'm supposed to... Am I supposed to loosen that one? I can't even touch it because it keeps going to the wrong one. So see, I don't understand how, because I've never learned this. I'm not a mechanic. Am I supposed to then adjust this? And I don't know how to adjust that. I don't understand. How do you... Do I have to loosen it? I've got that one at 30, which is what we wanted. We want that at 40. We want these at 55. We want these at 30, but I've got this one at 36.8. And I need to figure out how to loosen that one. I have to go into desktop settings to switch to manual wrench method. Okay. And that is where? Under miscellaneous? Where is it? Manual wrench controls. Okay. And now to use the manual wrench controls. I don't... Okay, how do I loosen? Set loosen. And then... Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. Oh, that's so annoying. Move. I need to... And it's going to the wrong one. I clicked on the one in the back and it's going to the one in the front. I'm not even going to be able to finish this. I'm going to end up rage quitting right now. I can't even tell which one I'm doing. Okay, go away. I'm trying to click the one in the back. This is incredibly frustrating. Okay, finally. But now I can't see it because the wrench is in the way. It's at 0. So... Yeah. It's annoying. I'm really, really, really frustrated and I'm about to rage quit this thing right now. Because the interaction on the desktop is... Yes, it's good that they're teaching the torque and everything, but the way they have these objects positioned in here, because they just translated from VR to desktop instead of like studying at the desktop interactions, this is actually more cumbersome than it needs to be. So now, how do I put the wrench away? How do I put the wrench away? So I can grab the bolts. Q? Grab the bolt, put it back over here. Is it Q? I'm switching back to auto mode because that's annoying. That's in here. In real life, I know how to use a ratchet, but I've never used a torque wrench. And I can kind of understand how the torque wrench works, but actually using it in here on the desktop is incredibly painful because the way they've placed this sign, I can't see the reading on the torque because it's blocking it, and it's probably set to the wrong setting. Okay, it's actually set right. Yay. Now I have to fix this one. And that's supposed to be at 55. Okay. Okay, and now these are at 40. Yeah, the way the sign was set up, it wasn't clear. I had to figure it out. Oh, it needs to be 70. Okay. But at least when I messed up on that one, it let me try again. I thought I was going to be stuck. And that took absolutely forever. Because it wasn't clear. And those of you who know how to use torque wrench and stuff are probably laughing at me, but hey, I've never actually used one. And they need to design the placement, the layout of this thing better than it is. This is hard to do in 3D, especially when you don't have proper like shading and shadows on things. Because look, they don't even have shadows on the tools on the desk to be clear that where it is in space. It's making depth perception very difficult. And it's already 1:23 and I'm already ready to stop. And we're not even done with the tutorial yet. I would redo the whole thing. If it were me signing it. There's so much here though that I would say I don't have the time to go through all of the things that are wrong with this. I can try to talk about some of the shorter versions of things that, you know, you could fix like I've been talking about. I'm gonna try to get through the tutorial though, because we haven't even played the game yet. We're not going to today because it's already 1:30 and I have works, I have projects. So we'll try to pick it back up next time. Hopefully it's saved. So I think it did say that you can skip the tutorial. Pick up, oh right, so what am I doing? Remove the wheel. So this is again, the way they have everything in the field of view is too much head movement for VR. I'm gonna write that down. Field of view for play space. Depth perception's off. Do the task list. Objects, obscuring. Signs and feedback. Just trying to remind myself of all the issues. The rose thorn, but there's just a lot to grab. Yeah, and so like I said now, okay, so I do remember how to grab it, okay, but I don't remember how to add that little, okay. But now I have to move all the way over here because my depth perception, again, they've got the play space too big. And they never taught me the proper way to remove a wheel. All they're teaching is how to use certain things. And this isn't even the right extension, because I need a different extension for this. Oh, now it's on. Okay. Is it going to work? Okay, good. So this one, though, a good thing about it is that it is teaching you, not really, but it's covering kind of torque and direction and so forth. But it's not actually teaching it to you. It's assuming you already know how torque wrenches work and how and this whole concept of torque in general. They're assuming you already know that. So, how do I... Okay, I have to put this away. Okay. Am I supposed to do something with the wheel? I'm trying to read this thing, but I can't see it through the wheel. Remove the caliper, and what's the caliper? What's the caliper? I don't know what a caliper is. Is that the caliper? What's the caliper? Okay. How do I remove that? This is not telling me. Is this whole thing? That's the control arm. This is the caliper? How do you remove the caliper? Fasteners retain associated parts. For example, lug nuts must be removed for wheels. Yep. Non-fastener parts may also block removal of installation. The manual app contains helpful step-by-step assembly. Okay, so is there a manual? Bauer catfish. What? What is Bauer catfish? Brake caliper. So I did that. I removed the wheel. Remove the 2 guide pin bolts located on the back of the caliper. On the back of the caliper. So I have to go around here. Ah, okay. These thingies? Or those things? Well... kind of hard to... tell. Is the caliper pin, or is that's the front caliper pin. What's the torque? Ooh. Okay. And okay. Okay. Now I have to come all the way back over here to look at this thing again to see what I'm supposed to do next. Remove the brake pads. This is the brake pad. This is the brake pad. This is the caliper bracket. Can I remove the caliper bracket? No. Can I remove the brake pad? I have to remove the back of the caliper, don't I? Do I? Oh, okay. Never mind. The brake pad is removed, I guess. What about this one? Okay. Rebuild and fasten. Oh. Okay. It's gonna be a total pain in here. I may end up just having to quit because I don't have the time for this. Got it. Why is it blinking red? I don't know why it's blinking red. So I did that. Remove the caliper. Install the new caliper. So am I supposed to be buying new parts? Because all it's telling me to do is reassemble. Reference the brake pads to help with this task. Click on the guide step to highlight the relevant parts, and attempting to install a part that's blocked will indicate blocking parts. So how am I... Because I just took this off. So it should go back on, right? That's the last thing I took off. So I have to put that one on first. Okay. It didn't say anything about that. Why is it blinking? So I have to put the screw in. I don't understand why I can't put the front one back on. And I really don't have the patience for this right now. So I guess we're gonna stop here because I don't have time to mess with it anymore. Again, I have projects I need to work on. Yeah, and I don't even know if I can save this. And it's not telling me it auto-saved, so I have no idea if it did. If the tutorial counts as saving auto-saving, I don't know. But it's not clear on why I can't put the front of the brake pad on. The steps in the manual are not... It's because it's like saying this is just about the brakes, but it's not... It didn't say put the back of the brake on before you put the front of the brake on, because that would be a step-by-step. This is not step-by-step. It's making assumptions. So, okay, so I remove the brake pads from the caliper bracket along with the related hardware. Install new hardware in the caliper bracket. So do I need to put the caliper bracket back on? Because I'm trying to do that. I did the one in the back. Shims are already on there. but it's not letting me do it. It keeps saying I can't do it. It's saying something is blocking me from doing it, but it's not saying what. So remove the brake pads. New hardware into the caliper bracket. But where is this hardware? I can't put the front caliper back on until I put the brake pad back on. But it won't let me put the brake pad back on. So I can't keep messing with this. I have to go back to work. So I guess we're done with this. And I'm guessing that I'm going to end up losing all of my progress because it's not telling me that I can't autosave, that it is autosaving during the tutorial. So yeah, I don't know. I'm stuck. So that's it. We're gonna go back to the rose thorn bud now. I've gotta get this done. So things that I liked. I liked that it covers kind of let me see. It gives feedback of successful actions. And tells you how to access reference. Or shows you how to access reference information in manuals. So we're thinking about good things. Rose, what went well? What was the highlight? What did we like? What did we like? Because I'm thinking a lot about the things that I didn't like right now. I need to focus on things I like. That's visual and audio feedback. So it has tooltips in for the common actions are visible at all times. Okay, a good thing. It teaches well, it shows you how to set. Does it really show you though? It didn't really, like, shows you how to set torque, how to change torque settings on the torque wrench. But it gives options for switching to manual versus auto on wrench interactions. Because some people are probably going to want to do auto, especially if you're a manual, especially if you're in VR. On the desktop, it's actually more cumbersome to do manual on the desktop. But in VR, doing it manual might be something somebody prefers to do. So that's fine. But on desktop, it doesn't make so much sense. Um, let's see. You can change, it gives options in the settings for switching to manual. There are it covers I see in options that there is support for multiple VR controllers, including Cosmos. So if I had it on Steam instead of the Oculus Store, then I could test that out with the Cosmos. But I don't have this game on Steam, and based on how frustrating it is to do this, I don't want to pay for it on Steam. I've already paid for it here. I don't want to pay for it again, so I'm not going to buy it on Steam to try it out with the Cosmos. If anyone has it and they have a Cosmos, then let me know how that works. But I'm not going to pay for it a second time because I can only take this game in short amounts just because of how cumbersome the interactions are. Okay, it gives you visual audio interactions are so there is a lot going on here. That is a Thorn. So let's just do what I've already written here. The field of view of the play space makes you have to move and look around a lot to see tasks and then perform them. And as an addition to that, the task list is the task just takes up a lot of the field of view. The play space is too big. You have to move around a lot. For the tasks that you're doing, play space is too big. You're having to move around a lot. And this is something I actually did this exercise with another person once, and they gave actually similar feedback that it was too cumbersome even in VR. They had to move around a lot, and you could really rethink your play space even. And that could carry over into real life because Ford actually does that. Ford Motors uses VR to help them design their workspaces. So they go into VR with body tracking, full body tracking on, and they'll have people perform tasks and in the full body tracking, and then they'll figure out ergonomics. How do we design our workspaces within our factory to make this a more ergonomic environment for people? And so having these straight tables that you have to like walk back and forth along is actually it's not as big of a deal in real life because you're not having to use a fake locomotion to move around, but they actually use it to help them make more ergonomic workspaces and how to make things better for their workers. And so you could actually do this in VR for the car manufacturing, that is car manufacturing, but the car mechanic space. How could we make this more ergonomic for our people so that they're not having to how could we redesign our workspaces to make it better, less cumbersome, so that they can focus on their tasks without all this back and forth. Yeah, I mean, yeah, within reason, of course. I mean, yeah, think outside the box. Just think about ways that you could make that better. Anyway, and even for VR, it doesn't have to be designed the way it would be in real life. You could design the table and the play space to be more ergonomic for people, because it matters more in VR because of that false locomotion that you have to do when the play space is too big. And one, it's cumbersome because you keep having to stop, move unnaturally. I mean, it's one thing if you're carrying something and moving in physical space. That's nowhere near as cumbersome as having to pick something up, switch to locomotion, move over, switch back to picking something up, and then working with it. It's switching to these different modes digitally is really cumbersome. So how can we make that better? Again, the desktop version is not optimal because it seems like they designed it for VR and then they translated that over to desktop, and they didn't take full advantage of the desktop design. And so I had a lot of trouble with depth perception. That was the next thing, depth perception. Desktop is way off. I have a hard time being able to tell where the object is in digital space. On the desktop version. It's not going to be as big of an issue in VR, I'm guessing. Definitely is in 2D looking at it this way. So the task list. I already mentioned the task list taking up a lot of the field of view. Also, the task list, I'm going to put those together because the bud's probably going to be together. But the task list has all tasks listed and all tooltips listed in the same place at once. A lot to read. Takes a lot of space and have to keep going back to list and finding your place on list to know what to do next. And this is like a good contrast comparison with Car Mechanic Simulator, which is kind of the same thing. That one was more simplified than this one, but the way that they taught you and the way that they did the interactions, and I didn't have anywhere near as much trouble with depth perception in that one, and I didn't have as much trouble knowing which task was going on in that one because it had, what's my next task? Okay, I'm doing that. Okay. It didn't have everything, and I have to read down and find myself. Take advantage of the digital space. Take advantage of, yes, that would be how you would do it in real life, but this isn't real life. This is digital. So make it work for digital. Let them focus on what it is and not having to find their place in a tutorial. In a tutorial. They can have a checklist when they get into the game, and if they need a process like that, repairing the brakes, that's fine. Like that process, okay, sure. But for the task that you're trying to complete in here, just show the task. And then that was another thing, is that I kept having to constantly switch back and forth between the tablet view and task list play space when performing tasks. Very cumbersome. So if this were VR training sim, and I think they have it this way, is you have the tablet and you can look at it at any time, and then you have your task list of what you're doing, and you can look at that. So you're not having to, okay, let me open the tablet, open the tablet, open the tablet, open the tablet. But I don't know. We'll see, because I haven't played it in a while. So you might have to keep opening and closing the tablet to be able to interact with things. I don't remember. If it were in real life, you would just be able to place your tablet or your checklist or whatever on the table, and you can refer to it when you need to and still use your hands. So we'll see. So the objects obscuring the sign, yeah. And I spelled cumbersome wrong. So we'll have to switch back and forth, and then at the torque station, sign is placed behind the different bolts, and the wrench obscures the sign when checking the torque. When trying to check the torque. So that's frustrating. Let's see. Let's just go on with buds. There's a lot more, but again, this is just a quick study. So if this were a thing that I were doing for a real project, I would go into way more depth. I would have someone with me taking notes while I talk through it, and then we would go through and do a very in-depth review of it. Much more in-depth than this. But again, this is not a real project. This is just me doing this for erudition and to help others learn and to help myself study. So we're not going to go into that much depth. And again, this is not a paid official project, so I can't spend too much time on it. Okay, so field of view, play space. We want to always have a bud for every thorn, at least one bud for every thorn. So field of view, play space. I would design the design the play space to be more ergonomic for VR and digital space. And I would redesign the task list to only show the next task, and I would use better visual hierarchy. For the completed versus uncompleted tasks, and spell hierarchy right. And/or, let's say and/or, because So let's have all the listed tooltips in the same place. So that one goes with that one. Takes up a lot of space. Play space is too big. You have to move around a lot. That one goes with this one. So I'm actually going to rearrange these so that this one goes there. I'll make that a dotted line so you can tell. Depth perception on the desktop is way off. I don't know what all you need to do for this. There were no shadows, first of all. It would indicate where object is. Had better shading. And let's see, it also looks like they, which is a pain point, seems like they designed this for VR and flopped it onto desktop. So use best practices for cross-platform design. Okay, depth perception's way off, and so that also goes there, but we also need to, oh yeah, it's already here. Add better shading. And so we also have to constantly switch back and forth between the tablet view and the taskless view. Since it's desktop, add task list to the HUD on the side. Design it for the desktop. Since it's on the desktop, design it for the desktop. There's different best practices for VR and for desktop. Use them. And then add the torque. They change the placement of the torque reading so that the wrench doesn't obscure it on here. And then, so if we were to translate this into XR, we would say, looks like this was mostly designed for XR. Flopped onto desktop. Design desktop. Take advantage of to follow cross-platform design best practices. Take full advantage of each platform. For the best experience. And then another thing that was a thorn was that took an hour and it takes an hour and still not done. And still not done with the tutorial. Haven't even played the game yet. Let them learn while playing the game. And a way of doing that is what? Treat them like a new hire. What would you do for a new hire? So with no previous training. What would you do? Show them by doing while they're working. Well, I mean, if you're in a... Depends on the situation, of course. Treat the player. It also doesn't fully explain. There's this assumption that players have background knowledge around torque and like all of this. Don't assume that. Study the target audience and the secondary audience. Well, you're studying the target audience, but then there's also... There's an intended audience and there's an unintended audience. And you find this out by who plays your game. Who's going to play your game? Or training, or take your training. You need to design it for them. So even in good like training sims, they learn while they're out there in the digital field doing work. So that the tutorial is basically showing them how to interact with things, and then they and then the training is learning by doing. But you seem to be like putting way too much in that interaction tutorial than is necessary. So do I need to pick up 50 parts to learn how to pick up parts? No. So spent too much time in there. So it looks like this, and I'm still not done. So it looks like this game was designed for VR and plopped onto desktop. Follow cross-platform design best practices. Take full advantage of each platform, the best experience. Give options, locomotion options for those prone to motion sickness. There are no... That was another Thorn. But I mean, I haven't done the VR version yet, so, but it doesn't look like there are any locomotion options on the VR site. So you want to make sure that there are locomotion options for people prone to motion sickness. And And that is all we have time for today. I will share those things to look up more in show notes. Again, I'm going to not be streaming the next couple of weeks. We'll see about the following week. I think of what I'm going to be doing. But we are going to be off the next 2 weeks while I do talks for Circuit Stream. I'm an instructor for Circuit Stream, and so be sure to check those out. I'll include those links in the show notes. And thanks for watching. If you like what you see and you want to keep seeing more of this content, follow me on Twitch, like on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, share this content with your friends. And if you can, support me on Patreon, because this takes time, effort, and money to do this. So if you want to keep seeing this, please do all of those things, and I will. And the free way to support is, of course, to like, to subscribe, follow, and if you can help by becoming a patron, you do get Patreon benefits, and I will be adding more benefits in the future for that. But if you want to keep seeing this content, be sure to do all of those things. And thanks. Have a good week, and I will see y'all next week at my Circuit Stream talks. So check out Circuit Stream to see more info on that, and I will see y'all later. Thanks.